Well, I guess we'll move on to Beast Children, which is a series by Kento Terasaka, and this is a rugby manga, and rugby has been absent from the pages of Shonen Jump for a long time. I believe it has been, I know it's been a couple decades even, maybe, since the last rugby series in Shonen Jump. Maxie would know this better than I, but it is quite a big deal that Jump is publishing another rugby manga again. Essentially, it's about this kind of short kid who really loves rugby. His name is Sakura. You know, when he was a kid, he saw a rugby game, and he was enthralled by the, violence of it. He really was impressed by a guy called Mr. Beast, Onotoro Iki. And, he had an interaction with Iki where, he asked him, aren't you hurt getting all bruised up like that? Are you okay with crashing into your opponents like that? And the Iki responds, oh, no, it hurts like hell and all of that. But, that's the exhilarating part of it. It's exciting. You knock your opponents down with anything you get. Crashing into each other makes rugby what it is.
the injuries are what make it fun.
Yeah, he seems like quite the masochist, but, misguided or not, inspires Sakura to play the game. And so Sakura, dreams of being a, professional rugby player, but at the rugby team in his school, he's the only one who actually, takes it seriously. He has a friend who kind of is only on the team in a spirit, but basically, he's not really a part of it. He's just kind of using it as an excuse to goof around. He's really in the soccer club, but hangs out with Sakura, and says in the rugby team to, goof off and shirk his soccer team duties.
He's very lackadaisical about most things, it seems.
Yeah, he seems like a decent enough friend, but yeah, again, not a very go-getter kind of dude.
Not at all, no.
Not the kind of character you would really focus on in a sports series. Where hot-blooded passions would fly. But anyway, a chance encounter leads Sakura to meet Iki's son, who, has transferred to kind of the same class as him in middle school, Yukito. Basically, Sakura wants to, play with Yukito, but, he rubs Yukito the wrong way and stuff. And, they kind of get into an argument about whether Iki was someone to aspire to as a rugby player or was just kind of someone with misguided values for pushing himself so hard, so obsessed with rugby that he died on the field. Obviously as his son, I'm sure that Yukito has a lot of resentment for his dad for playing so brutally and recklessly that he, passed away and all that. But that doesn't stop them from playing rugby. They kind of challenge each other to a rugby game to kind of, Sakura does it to kind of prove Iki's honor, prove that his ideals are valuable, whereas Yukito is like, no, you're dumb, I'm going to show you how foolish you are. They basically play this game where it's basically, Sakura tries to catch Yukito, and it doesn't really go well, at first, he keeps getting knocked down and stuff, but, keeps at it, and eventually he is able to tackle Yukito, and he manages to put him to the ground, and it's after this point that Sakura finds out that Yukito is Iki's son and stuff, and he wants to go to the same school as him and play rugby with him, and Yukito is he should give up. He's small, he's not cut out to be in the cutthroat world of rugby and stuff. But of course, Sakura has to stand up to some bullies, and that impresses Yukito. So Yukito tells him about a school that he supposedly is planning to go to that has one of the best rugby teams in the country and stuff. So Sakura's so excited. Oh, I'm going to be in a rugby team with Yukito. But it is a trick because Sakura gets into this school that Yukito suggested, Hiyakengagawa. But Yukito is not there. Yukito lied to him. Yukito has not gone to the school for one reason or another. But at this school, Sakura does join the rugby club, and he learns that this club, up until like 4 years ago, was like coached by the late Iki and the late Mr. Beast, and so they call themselves basically the children of the Beast. Beast Children, where the title comes from. Well, to clarify earlier, he coached them until 4 days before he died, basically. So, probably very recently. Last couple of years. But anyway, basically Sakura has joined this rugby team that was mentored by the person he looks up to, his master. So, now it's all a question of like becoming a part of this team, like really building up a reputation, and then eventually, I'm sure, playing against Yukito in rugby. I'm sure that's the reason Yukito sent him to a different school than the one he actually was intending to go to, so they could play each other in the sport, or he could help raise Sakura's skills and all that. So, that's the series so far.
I actually kind of like that setup. I don't know. I haven't really read any rugby manga, and the only other rugby series that I'm kind of familiar with would be like All Out. And even then, I kind of fell out of that after a couple episodes. I'm sure maybe the manga's better. I don't know. As far as sports series goes, like I'm not confident that this is going to last, just because like it seems most sports series in Jump don't really last unless they really gain some kind of following, which from what I could tell doesn't happen super often. But I mean, I don't know. I wasn't like in love with this, but I liked it enough to where, you know, like rugby is not a sport that like I have seen in manga and anime a lot. So I'm willing to keep up with this at least for a little bit. See if it goes anywhere interesting.
This is the series where the core story and, like, the emotional beats are enjoyable enough, but it is very hampered for me by the paneling and the art, which does not, to me, effectively kind of sell the emotional moments, and it kind of feels very flat to me.
I do agree, yeah.
And I just kind of wash over the pages, and I really have to reread and like think about the construction of the storytelling to really appreciate the character moments, whereas upon reading them the first time, they are kind of like washing over me and I'm not really feeling them. And then I have to really think, I have to really pay attention to what the story is to kind of really feel anything. So, in terms of, like, the enjoyment of reading, like, the readability factor, it's not that engaging as a comic to me. I think I would honestly prefer to... I feel like I get as much out of it just from the dialogue alone than I do from the art. And I think that is kind of a problem. Not to say that there aren't some good panels here and there, but I just don't feel that the rugby action, I don't really feel the violence, I don't really understand how they're playing the game, it feels all very nebulous to me. It certainly doesn't help that they have not explained the rules of rugby, really given a layout, a lowdown, but like, the action elements of this comic, for the most part, are completely a wash to me. The character designs don't really stand out to me. Like, I think Sakura in particular has a very generic design for a protagonist that doesn't really feel wholly unique to me, other than the fact that, you know, this artist has a very interesting way of drawing eyes that stand out. But otherwise, I feel like the hairstyle of Sakura is a little similar to Hinata from Haikyuu, and it definitely doesn't help that I feel like a lot of elements of this series I can trace direct parallels to other Shonen Jump sports manga. Haikyuu definitely standing the most obvious as a comparison point in terms of like the kind of thematic rivalry relationship between Sakura and Yukito and Hinata and Kageyama. You know, obviously in Haikyuu, they do end up going to the same school. So that's like the one divergent point here is that Sakura intends to go to the same school as Yukito, but actually Yukito has tricked him. Whereas in Haikyuu, it was like they intended to go into different schools, but they accidentally ended up the same school. But like otherwise, like the setup, like the arguments that are made, like the way the characters like kind of thought, and how they kind of grew to respecting each other, it felt really similar to that to me for some reason. Like this whole idea also of like this diminutive shrimpy character who wants to like make it big in a sport where height and size matter. You know, that is something that draws so much comparison to Haikyuu and a lot of other sports series as well. So Beast Children feels like it has a lot of derivative storytelling elements. I think that there are some generally effective shonen moments that make the character of Sakura endearing enough. But again, I don't think the art helps those moments. In fact, that a lot of times I think it kind of hinders my enjoyment of those moments because it distracts me from like what the story is and like what the character beats are, and I have to like reread it to really feel that again. So like again, like just in terms of readability, when I was comparing this to say Double Taizai, Double Taizai is such a messy story, but it's so readable, it's so clean and easy to follow. The character designs are distinctive enough.
Oh yeah.
If not like terribly interesting, like they're at least distinctive in the sense that I feel like I can pull these characters apart from a lineup. I feel like I can identify them very clearly within the world. Whereas with Beast Children, like, I can get confused of, like, who is who, and I don't think that the protagonist has the most compelling or interesting or expressive design.
I feel like when it comes to beginning of a sports manga, you know, there's always that moment in a sports series in the beginning where it's like, you know, where you're overcoming that first challenge, whatever it may be, and you have that moment where like you have that moment that is worth dedicating a double page spread to in every sports series, I feel like. And as far as the beginning of Beast Children goes, that moment where Sakura ends up tackling Yukito, I thought was a good moment. It was clearly supposed to be like the most visually eye-catching moment because they dedicate a whole 2-page spread to it. And while I thought it was good, I want to go back to what you were talking about, you know, saying that I agree that like I think personally the art is, I think it's all right. I think it's serviceable, but like moments like that in particular so far, I feel like have been good, but they don't resonate with me emotionally. Like that should have been the moment where, you know, you're with this character and you really want them to succeed in whatever they're doing, and they succeed in that moment, but like, you know, I thought it was a cool page, but like I didn't really feel much from it. If anything, I really liked Yukito kind of like, you know, reflecting and looking up at the sky as he's sort of in a way like talking to his dead father and whatnot. Like I thought that was probably the most like poignant moment in the entire chapter, which is kind of weird considering like I feel like the most poignant moments in a sports manga should be the more action filled moments, especially in the beginning, you know, when you're trying to showcase what you got. So I don't know. Those are just kind of my observations. I do agree with all your critiques, but like I said, I'm still interested in this enough to kind of keep going with it. But I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes from here.
It could get a lot more interesting now that the team that he has joined has been introduced and we can get to know those characters as well. I'm sure perhaps as the series goes on, you like Sakura will become a little more distinctive looking. There are a few panels where there are some good expressions with him that, you know, look pretty nice. But like, again, like, I just feel like the design just doesn't stand out right now. It definitely will need some time to really become a little more stylized as the more this artist draws this character. But also, Again, the comic storytelling of it just read very flat to me, in addition to just the art not having the dynamism that I really find grabbing in the best of shonen sports manga. So I'm not too confident in the series right now, but it could grow into something bigger from here. So I will see in the chapters to come where it might go.